Hello. I hope you're doing marvellously well. This is quite exciting. So, our good friends at DistroKid have been chasing us down for a while to work with them. And we were thinking, how can we do something together that will be a benefit to lots of our lovely members, such as Herr Liffey, hi there, Michael, hi Michael, hey Jim, hey Peter, hey Thomas, hey Dave, hey Andre, hey Mary and Sam, hey Andy, Herbie, that was me just stopping my guitar from falling over, by the way, Kyle, Danielle, Bubba, or Booba, I'm sorry if I'm messing it up, Luminous Brilliance, everybody's saying hello, quicker than I can get it, Bruno, Nick, Dominic, Octavio, Martin, Papa Bola, Del Savana, Thomas, so many great people, Andre, Jörg, Armalda, I'll try and say everybody as I can. Wow, this is amazing. So we said, well, what can we do together? And one of the most successful videos we do, I think, and one of the best tuition video stuff we do is mixing like live in front of you lovely people. Not many or any people do that. And well, we thought, because kind of sorts out the girls from the women, the women from the girls and the men from the boys. And, it really does, just throw ourselves into the fire, as it were, to the wolves and just mix something live, and then we can have an actual discussion in real time. Plus, of course, there's multi-tracks we can give away. So thank you, DistroKid. They're sponsoring this. They're basically paying the cost to do this, which is the wonderful Mr. Eric Von Gonzalez. He's the only Dutch Latino person I know. Van Gonzalez. Eric Von Derrickson, and all of that lovely stuff. And of course, as I'm sure you know, if you watch any YouTube videos, when DistroKid do stuff with people, they do offer a big discount. So of course you can join, if you look underneath, for 30% off underneath there and all that kind of stuff. And we'll talk about it throughout the video because we want to thank them. It's rather wonderful if people are like DistroKid are going to pay for our costs so that we can do videos like this. So what are we going to do? We're going to mix something in the box, not on the console this time. We are going to do future ones, and the idea is to do this every single week, which I think is pretty freaking awesome, isn't it? So we'll have multi-tracks coming out all the time. We'll do Mix in the Week. If you're an Academy member, if you're not, please join. And we will also do mix breakdowns in it. And what we decided to do, in fact, what Eric decided to do, he actually thought of this, so hats off to Eric, was to take one of our favorite multi-tracks that our Academy members mix. So Eric, if you go to the full screen, I'm going to play a bit of it. Some of you may remember this. This was a song that we did with the rather amazing Mr. Daryl Thorpe. Daryl, I've won 9 Grammys, Daryl Thorpe. An amazing engineer and producer. We have a course coming out with him soon as well, with 3 different songs in it. Amazing. And what we did is we went to Sunset Sound, Studio 1, the main studio, Studio A, Studio 1. I never remember when the people call it A or 1, but I think it's Studio 1. And which is the oldest room there where they did The Doors and all kinds of amazing Love Forever Changes, one of my favorite records ever. And we went in there and we tracked a band live, including vocals. And the band was an all-star amazing lineup. And of course, as ever, Mr. Steve Majora was the singer and the piano player. So this has been one of the biggest songs to mix in Produce Like a Pro Academy. It has been mixed so many times by people. And it is one of the toughest ones to mix because it's not a cover it with compression and EQ mix. It's more about little bits and pieces here and there. All right, let's give it a listen. This has got some gentle limiting on it, so just make it a little bit louder. But this is Daryl's console mix. So what we did is we used Lauten audio microphones. So this is all Lauten audio microphones. Sunset Sound, Daryl Thorpe, amazing band. But one of the things that's really complicated about this is that all the musicians were in one room, so everybody's bleeding into each other, with the exception of the guitar amp, which we put into a separate room. But the bass is a stand-up bass, so there's bleed all over the place. So this is going to be one of those times when you have to be judicious, like I said earlier, about how you compress and EQ. And as Anita says, this is absolutely not easy. This is a difficult one to mix. So let's give it a listen. This is Daryl's live from the console mix.
I've been baptized by fire. I've been going insane. I'm a guitar man with whiskey in hand and drugs in my brain. I've crossed borders and seas, played for princes and thieves, but nothing else matters if you ain't with me. I'm going crazy, crazy for a woman like you. Felt this way before, and that didn't turn out well. So now I'm starting anew. I've been lying here all damn night, dreaming up ways to get back to you. What could I do? What could I say? Is there anything left to make you feel the same? I've been baptized by fire. I've been going insane. I'm a guitar man with whiskey in hand and drugs in my brain. I've crossed borders and seas, played for princes and thieves, but nothing else matters if you ain't with me. I'm going crazy, crazy for a woman like you. You, a woman like you. Oh. Someone said to me, man, you gotta be crazy.
Okay, so you get the point on this. It's super live, off the floor. Oh, by the way, the verb is the actual plate from Sunset, so we printed that. For those of you who asked, and of course you get those multitracks. So if you haven't already, please download those multitracks. And you'll notice the kick is not big, it's not boomy, it's a little kick. If you find the original video on YouTube, I'm hoping there's a link underneath. Yep, there it is. So if you go to the links underneath, you'll see the original recording session. And I believe the kick drum was an 18, maybe a 20, but I think it was an 18-inch kick. It was a very small kick. So it's very much a case of, how do we deal with this? Do we decide that we want the bass low-lows to be underneath the kick drum? Or do we want the kick drum to be underneath the bass? And that is where everything gets messy. And so many people have mixed this song. And it's been difficult. But that is the console mix. So that's as Daryl recorded it and how he balanced it on the console, on the Studio One console at Sunset Sound. So let's listen for bleed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a quick drum mix here. Let's have a listen to this quickly. I'm not sure what these two monos are here, Eric. Those are just full-blown room mics. I believe these are the room mics from the time. Sorry that they're not labeled, they're just called Mono 1, but I think that's what they are. They're just generic room mics. Yes, they are. Generic room mics. Oh, it's a real piano. It's a real piano. It's the piano in Studio One. So you can hear the bleed of the vocal into it. Oh, thank you, Peter. Yes, please hit the like button and share. Let people know that we're live. So yeah, this is the piano track soloed.
I've been baptized by fire. I've been going insane. I'm a guitar man with whiskey in hand, drugs in my brain. I've crossed borders and seas, played for princes and thieves, but nothing else matters if you ain't with me. I'm going crazy, crazy for a woman like you.
So generally speaking, the bleed isn't too bad, but it's going to be a tough one because you've got the lead vocal and the piano, because he's sung at the same time, the vocal's bleeding into it. But let's have a listen in louder sections.
I've been lying here all damn night, dreaming up ways to get back to you. What could I do? What could I say? Is there anything left?
So obviously there's vocal bleed in there. So whatever we do compression-wise to the piano is going to bring up the vocal as well. It's just the way it is, you know? We're gonna avoid going too crazy on using like RX and stuff like that initially. We're going to see what we can do with a lot more balancing. I think this is going to be about a less is more approach. There's going to be plenty of mixes in this series where we do drop-in samples, where we don't use samples, where we go really compressed, EQ'd and limited, and other times like this one, it's going to be more about listening. Now, when I listened to Daryl's mix, I really enjoyed it. I just felt like I could hear a bit more definition on the kick and a bit more evenness on the bass. And that is not surprising, bearing in mind it is a small kick drum and a bass that's recorded with a mic on it, a stand-up bass. I think because a few of you are asking, let's have a quick listen to this is the Sunset Sound reverb on his vocal.
Didn't turn out well, so now I'm starting new. I've been lying here.
Pretty beautiful. Let's throw in the vocal so you can hear the two together.
Didn't turn out well, so now I'm starting anew. I've been lying here all damn night, dreaming up ways.
I don't believe this the plate. I think this is one of the chambers. In Studio One it has a chamber, but there's also a plate. Let me have a quick listen. No, I think that's one of the chambers. Okay, so I'm going to listen to the drums. Let's just solo the drums together and have a listen, see what the bleed situation is with that. As Chris says, it has early reflections like a chamber. So what's interesting, I mean, the drums are in the room. If you watch the video, which I said is underneath, there's a link underneath there. You can tell it's pretty crazy, bearing in mind the drums in the room. So the drum, not much is bleeding into the drums, but the drums are probably bleeding into everything else. Yeah, Real Raven, if you've got the Sunset Sound IK Multimedia plugin, you can match it. It's pretty insane. No, I haven't panned anything around. That's all slap banging mono. So there's no problem with the drums. We're going to get good isolation with the drums. So I think solving the attack on the kick and making it defined is not going to be difficult. Now the bass, on the other hand, that's probably going to have some bleed stuff. Let's have a listen. Now we could just mute that at the front.
I'm going crazy,
So you can tell there's a lot of bleed. We've got a stand-up bass. It's being played gently, and things are bleeding into it. Now we have a choice. Do we gain down those things in between? Oh yeah, the drums are bleeding there is almost non-existent. And yes, Chris, you're right. The performance is fantastic, but the bleed is pretty crazy. Okay, so that's going to be interesting. Electric guitar is not going to be an issue because they have a close mic. Let's have a quick listen. Yeah, that bleed is not a problem at all. Keep listening. There's no BPM info in the tracks because it wasn't cut to a click. Okay, so there's not really an issue with that. And let's listen back to the piano. I'm interested to hear the piano and the vocal just together. Here we go.
Someone said to me, man, you gotta be crazy for speaking your mind. But I can't control my brain.
So, okay, that's interesting. Let's listen to the vocal on its own.
Crazy for a woman like you.
There's quite a lot of bleed in there. I'm not going to go in there and automate it. You could, but it might not get much better. Now, there's an argument to be said to just rebalance it and do it like Daryl did. There was no gating, no EQ, no compression on his mix. It was just a console mix. But we've listened to everything. I feel like the first thing I'm going to do is start with the piano and the vocal because that's what the song is built around. So the first thing I'm going to do is just grab a generic EQ. And for me, those of you that know me know that I'm all about REQs. That's what I grew up using. And they're to me like my stock EQ. But whatever you use. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to wipe off some of that excessive low end of the piano bleed.
Crazy for a woman like you. Crazy for a woman like you.
I feel like at about 180-ish.
Crazy for a woman like.
I agree. Dustin's saying he believes that the bleed in this track can be part of the charm. I think so, yeah.
Crazy for a woman like you.
There you go. That's where it's starting to make a difference. You see those low notes coming in? Have a listen. Now, with the bypass, with the in, how with the high passing in? Yeah, I'm not worried about the as Peter's saying about BPM. I can calculate the BPM quicker than it takes to type what is the BPM of the song. You could literally just open up any major delay plugin and just hit the tick, 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 just play a bar and tick along with it. For years, what we always used to do was use Super Tap, the Waves one, but there's other delays, and you can do it. Also, I think with delays, if it's like, I don't know what the average BPM, some people are saying 72. If I tapped in like 71.5, it wouldn't matter. I also like kind of a little bit of a drift. Thomas is saying it's anywhere between 67 and 72, depending on the part of the song. Yeah. And again, and I think as Peter's saying, unless you're trying to snap it to a grid and make it absolutely perfect, it doesn't, you know what I mean? Okay, so let's keep listening.
Say, is there anything left to make you feel?
So I feel pretty confident with that high pass in there at about 180-ish, 187, that I'm not taking any of the lows away from the vocal, but I am getting rid of some of that excessive bass boost from the stand-up bass and from the piano.
Is there anything left to make you feel the same?
Can bleed cause phasing? Yeah, absolutely. The last thing you want, so if we zoom in here, for instance, good question, good point. I know a couple of people were mentioning bleed, phase issues. So it looks like it's interesting. You'll see the piano in there is probably, it's a tough one. It's like, if I put the piano back in,
Is there anything left?
let's just do this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take the vocal and I'm just going to grab, let's just grab a trim control here, just because it has the polarity. So if you see here, so we'll play it.
Anything left to make you feel the same? I've been baptized by fire. I've been going insane. I'm a guitar nail with whiskey and drugs in my brain.
There's not a huge amount of difference, but there is a difference. It actually seems to, if I flip the polarity, it actually seems to actually remove the vocal out of it.
Crazy for a woman like you. Felt this way before, and that didn't turn out well.
That's thinning it out. I feel like some of the lows have disappeared out of the vocal when I flip the polarity on that. So, like Chris says, if you want to get in there and move things around a micro, you could. To me, to be honest, I would prefer.
Felt this way before, and that didn't turn out well. So now I'm starting anew.
What I want to do first before I do anything else is just apply a gentle amount of high-end boost on the vocal just to get it to cut. And so I'm doing a really, really wide boost here.
Now I'm starting anew.
There is no way to avoid the to align them. So if I align the piano to the vocal, first of all, it would always only be approximation. You're then out of phase with the vocal, and if you were inside the vocal,
Now I'm starting anew. I've been lying here all damn night, driven up ways to get back to you.
that helps. So I've just brightened the vocal ever so slightly. Now I'm digging it. We're gonna have no problem using whatever plugin we want. Maybe we'll use some OX sound or something like that on it. So now what we have is we have the piano flat as a pancake. Maybe what we should do is just do some gentle high passing on that. Again, whatever you want to use. My personal preference is just to get an REQ, but what is in your toolkit.
I've been baptized by fire. I've been going insane. Crazy for a woman like you.
But I'm not going to go too crazy. I'm actually not going to high pass that aggressively, because we have to make that decision, and we're keeping this in the back of our mind right from the beginning about what do we want to do about the bass. So The problem is, not the problem, the reality is like you heard that bass, there's so much bleed in there, so I have to decide where I'm going. To me, this is going to be about judicious, subtle uses, I should say, of high passing and just whether we need compression to bring things forward without introducing too much bleed. Now, I'm going to bring the verb in on the vocal as well.
Crazy for a woman like you.
And I'm going to turn up the vocal.
Crazy for a woman like you.
I'm experimenting with bringing some more of the lows out of the vocal to see if it's causing some phase cancellation between the, you're very welcome, Tom, between the piano and the vocal.
Crazy for a woman like you.
It's definitely, you can hear the vocal is adding some mid-range to it, the vocal mic bleed into it, and we have to decide whether we like that or not, whether are we going to be automating it down slightly.
Crazy for a woman like you.
Because after that phrase, listen to me unmute and mute the vocal.
Crazy for a woman like you.
I agree. F says split EQ might work really well on this. It might do. There's definitely some low-end phase cancellation-y stuff going on. Plus, of course, frankly, there's more volume of the piano coming in. That's probably the biggest thing, the volume of the piano in the vocal. Have a listen. And you see it's all mid-range. What's your question, Ryan? Ryan says, or it's just a donation. Thank you, Ryan. You can buy us a cup of coffee or a sandwich. Oh, what was the message? This community is amazing. Thank you, Ryan. So one of those ways, quite simply,
Crazy for a woman like you. Felt this way before, and that didn't turn out well.
So a simple thing that most people would probably do would be just to get in there and do some just gentle automation. Just gentle.
For a woman like you.
So maybe just a little gentle. This is where time is your friend. Just spending time doing some detail.
Felt this way before, and that didn't turn out well.
So when he's like up on the mic like this, doesn't turn out well, because he's not going, way before, didn't turn out well. He's not doing this. He's on the mic, woman like you, and then he's sitting back, and there's a lot of bleed. And then when he comes up like this, so I don't know if it's necessary for us to get in there and automate between every single phrase that Steve does. But I think a gentle amount of automation. Here, I'm not coming down much because we cannot gate this. Because if we gate this out, it's going to be stupid. Because listen to the amount of bleed already in the vocal mic.
Crazy.
You're hearing it in that vocal. Listen again.
Crazy for a woman like you. Crazy for a woman like you.
So that's the amount of bleed that's in the vocal already. So what we're trying to do is make it feel even. So the amount of bleed that's going on here equates to about the same volume there. That way, whatever I do compression and EQ wise is going to be even across the whole thing.
Played for princes and
All right, so let's put the piano back in.
if you ain't with me,
I want to put the reverb in as well.
if you ain't with me, I'm going crazy. Crazy for a woman like you.
All right, now the difference is starting to get negligible. So what I did is I muted the vocal mic there, and the difference sonically wasn't as dramatic as it was. So how much did I come down by? I went from 0 to minus 4.1, so 4 dB down in those sections where it's just piano.
For a woman like you, if you ain't with me,
Just going to bring the reverb up just a little bit.
if you ain't with me, I'm gone.
You can do a gain automation as well. It's really up to you. You can do automation, volume automation like that, or gain. Please hit the like button, everybody. Thanks everybody that's watching. This is a really difficult multi-track to mix for all of the obvious reasons. I wouldn't do that, but it's a good question. Andrew's saying, new question, would cutting that mid-range on the piano offset the gain from the bleed in the vocals? Possibly. But the thing is, because of the vocal mic, him coming in like this, and then he's moving back here and there's more bleed, and then when he comes in and sings, it's going to be such a, you know what I mean? You're never going to get the perfect place. So you've got to compromise, and I think the best compromise is just gentle volume automation on a mix like this.
But nothing else matters if you ain't with me. I'm going crazy, crazy for a woman like you.
All right, I'm fairly happy with that, where that is at the moment. Let's listen to the bass again. Okay, so here's the thing with the bass, is like that note cuts, and it's great when it comes in. That 600-700, it's big, isn't it? It's big. So if let's see what we got in the way of dynamic EQs. I mean, we could use OX sound, of course. We could go really getting there, and we probably will at some point. But I don't know. Let's go to our good friends we know and love at Mac DSP. Hi, Colin. We're equal opportunity here, and obviously Colin makes fantastic stuff. Okay, and give us a listen. So there's some nice finger noise there on the bass. I mean, that's already a million times better. A million times better. So all we're listening to is the low end, and we've really gone in that mid-range area, like mids, those low mids that are really building up in all the instruments. Bypassed. So we've managed to isolate that. Now we have to decide what we're going to do on the top. So let's unsolo those. Let's have a listen to this. Not a lot going on, Pretty awesome. It's amazing what you can do with multiband compression. You know what I mean? You can get really clever. We've had lots of people mix this using RX and all of this stuff and done tons of really fancy things and everything, but that's just using a multiband. There's almost no high end going on. Like minus 55 dB. It's like all right. So there you go. That's the beauty of multiband compression. Before and after. Yeah, see, Dave, 30 seconds. No, I'm not muting the bands 3 and 4. They're just not doing much. There's hardly any finger noise in there at all. I'm just compressing it quite aggressively. Yeah, the vocals are in the Multitracks. There you go. Multiband compression. Amazing what you can do. All right, so let's now fly that back in to the vocal, the piano, and the verb.
Woman like you. Felt this way before.
To be honest, I feel like it's already better. Let's have a listen to what Daryl had at that instance there, just with the console mix.
Crazy for a woman.
With a lot more reverb.
Crazy for a woman like you.
We don't have the drums in yet, obviously.
Woman like you.
I think we're in a really good place. We haven't had any high-end overheads or anything yet, but I think we're in a really, really good place. So let's have a listen to the... let's go a bit later on for the drums. Here's the kick. Oh, we're going to thank our sponsors. So our sponsor is DistroKid. So thank you ever so much, DistroKid. They are paying for His Highness Sir Eric von Dan Erickson for and all the costs associated with producing this video. So thank you very much. DistroKid is something that we've recommended to Academy members. Hello, Academy members, for the longest time. The reason why, if you're a producer, an engineer, a mixer, or even a songwriter working with an artist, what you can do is you can work out your splits in advance. So you get together with the person you're working with and you say, how are we owning this song? Let's just say you produced it, engineered, mixed it, co-wrote it. Let's just say you want to do 50-50 on the release, whatever your deal might be. The reason why we suggest DistroKid is you go in there and you assign the payments in there. I have been doing this as an independent producer, engineer, and mixer for a mighty long time. And one of the biggest problems I had from the 90s when I first started doing this is getting paid. It's really, really difficult to get paid. If let's just say you do an independent EP or album and it generates a couple of $1,000 worth of profit and you've got a 50-50 deal. Chasing the artist, doing the accounting and getting them to send you a check for $957 or whatever you're owed is very, very difficult. It's time consuming and very frustrating. If you use DistroKid, which we do, you put the music up and you assign the ownership there. And every time a dollar comes in and it reaches the threshold, both or all the parties, even if there's 10 people involved, get paid independently. It doesn't go to one person and then you have to do it. It's a brilliant way for independent producers, engineers, songwriters, artists, musicians to get proper profit splits set up for those people that co-own the recording together. It's a wonderful tool, and it's been a major difference on a lot of projects I've worked on. I've got a lot of projects where it is immediately sent to whoever owns the copyright on the song, however you've decided to split up the profitability of the song. That's where I think DistroKid wins over all of the others. So and the reason why we're talking about it, if you're a producer, an engineer, or whatever, you can get in there and set up an account. The other thing I do is I release a lot of the songs that we do here independently with the artist, and we split everything 50-50 and they get paid. It's really great. It's wonderful. Robert says, finally back. So check out DistroKid. Thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring it. And thank you for us being able to talk about why we like using them and why we suggest them to our fellow producers and engineers and mixers. No other company does that, by the way. That's why they win for us. Us people on this side of the glass. And even for the artist, it saves a lot of harassment and headaches of people chasing you for money. You just get paid directly. Thank you. Robert says he became a lifetime member of Produce Like a Pro last week. Finally back after a long live tour as front of house. Love it. Thank you, Robert. I really appreciate you. Yep. TZ Mix Rex says a majority of the artists I've worked with the last 2 years are also using DistroKid. I think also their payment plans and what you get are the most reasonable in the business. Marvelous. So check it out. Thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring it. There's a link underneath. You get up to 30% off their plans. And thank you for making this possible. Don't forget, download the Multitracks here. You can check out the original video online, and you can check out any of Daryl's courses. This was recorded and originally mixed on the console by the wonderful Daryl Thorpe. It is a Lauten Mic DVD demo. So every single one of these things was recorded with a Lauten mic. Underneath, you'll see a link to all of those if you would like to get them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw up the bass and the kick together. It's a tough one. So with the kick, it's a little kick. I believe it was as 18. It may either an 18 or a 20. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find that fundamental. So for those of you that aren't hearing that, why don't we use let's use something so you can see it. We'll just get Paz. This is old school. This is back in the olden days when I first started. I think Paz has been around for about 4.5 million years. Remember this one? So there's a lot going on at about 100 to 115 that you can see there. It's obviously bringing up weight below as well, but I don't want to exaggerate that too much because, of course, that is where the bass itself is sitting. There's so much low end. We're going to decide that the bass is the lowest thing that we want to hear. So again, I'll just grab my old favorite, which is just an REQ, and let's go to 100 and start there. So I like it. I'm not sure. I'm going to go lower. $80 seems to be quite a sweet spot, doesn't it? Keep listening. Interesting. 70's working quite well. And because it was going through the API, he would have boosted 50. So, interesting. So, what we seem to have 50 and 70, kind of like really bringing in the thump. With my massive 55 boost here, I'm going to put the bass guitar in. Let's have a listen together. This is the stand-up bass. So the problem is like it's now hitting in the way of the bass itself. So let's try some experimentation, just for schnitz and schniggles, because this is what we're doing. We're experimenting. We're learning from this. So I'm going to grab an EQ on the bass. Again, just grab my old favorite, and we're going to slowly high pass the bass and let the kick and see what our relationship can be between the two of them. So we'll start really super low. So I just turned the EQ off on the bass and brought it back on. Here's off. It's a tough one. Put in the piano. Put it back on. Take off the EQ, sorry. I'm going to wipe off a little bit more low-lows on the kick. Sorry, on the piano. So I'm taking off some more low-lows on the piano. So I'm not doing this in solo anymore. Yes, I am soloing things, but I'm soloing together the relationship between all of the instruments. So I've got the kick drum, the bass guitar, which is stand-up bass, and the piano. So I've just increased the high passing on the piano a little bit. I'm liking the piano and the bass relationship a lot. See, when you're not listening in solo, you can do absolutely crazy stuff. Oh yes, please, thank you. Yeah, please hit the like button. Thank you ever so much for that. It was a great suggestion. So I have no idea what that kick drum sounds like in solo now. I've pushed 100 like crazy on it, and I've also high passed up to 87. I'm doing nutty things. Now I'm at about 2.83 and I'm boosting that crazy. It's probably going to sound awful in solo, but I don't care. What does it sound like in the track? This is very Bob Clearmountain of me. You know, just make it sound good. Don't care how it sounds in solo. Yeah, like Lindsay's saying, the EQ looks nuts. And if I was demonstrating this, and I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to come back and watch this video, and you know it's going to be like, I can't believe he EQ'd it so much, bruh. Oh my God. Did you see how much EQ he put on that? Have you ever seen, you ever seen Joe Ciccarelli? He does the most insane EQ stuff, and his records sound like the best ever. Thank you, Breen, for laughing. Anita says it isn't an EQ, it's Batman. Batman! And it's peaking red all over the place. Oh my God, did you see the red light, brah? It's clipping, brah. know. I really like that. I really, really like that. Let's keep listening. What was verbatim what they told me in Music Tech College? Luminous? What was it?
You must only use subtractive EQ.
You must only use subtractive EQ, even though every single major mixer in the entire world does not do that. At college, you must learn to do that. It's funny, isn't it? Doesn't that ever happen when, you watch a video with Bob or any of the greatest mixers ever, and you've seen them go crank, 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 and yet everybody's going, they don't know what they're doing with their absolutely amazing sounding records. They don't know what they're doing. I read this thing, so they can't do that. God bless it all. Is that my robot voice? I'm not very good at doing these voices, but I appreciate it. So the question is, it gets a little snappy in there. Take the EQ off. So the question is, it's got that thump, but it doesn't have that low subbiness to it. What we could do is generate a little bit of subbiness. You know what I mean? Don't look at my EQ, yes. I can bring it down to 100. I'm gonna add some more low lows back in. Super ringy. What we could do is just grab our old friend, plugin we use every single day and we cannot speak better about than Soothe, and just see what happens if we turn it on down around about here. Let's get rid of this. And the reason why I'm adding Soothe is I just want to even out that lows. So what I'm doing is I'm now evened it out, and you'll think I'm going to be crazy. I'm nuts for thinking this way, but I've evened out the and now I'm going to boost it again. You're like, what? Huh? What is up with that crazy man? And pull out some 350. Dreadful on its own. Absolutely dreadful on its own. Throwing the bass. Bass is like huge. Oh, it's dreadful on its own. It's super boingy on its own. Totally would never do that in a rock track. Ever in a million years. Throw in the snare. This has been the bane of the existence with mixing this song. This is what has been the toughest thing, the relationship between the low end. And us all going in there wanting it to be a rock mix, wanting to boost 50 and 60 hertz on a little kick drum and making the bass sit above it. In this one, yeah. Yeah, I mean, what I'm doing, F, is I'm boosting and cutting the same frequencies, but what I like about the OX sound is like I'm evening out that. So then after I do another boost, it's more of an even like thump at that frequency the whole time. Well, the great thing about SSLs is you always boost and cut at the same frequency, so you could get these like really, really crazy shelves. Okay, so the high tom, we're going to pan over like 20%. I'm doing it audience perspective because that's just how I remember the mix being. You can mix it any way you like. So it's mono overhead. Now with these room mics, they're two monos. I'm going to see if I can create some stereo-ness out of them. So I'm just going to call it rooms, and I'm going to turn them down, like down.
Felt this way before, and that didn't turn out well. So now I'm starting anew.
I really feel like just adding soothe lightly on the bass as well, just to control those occasional notes that go a little nutty, just a little bit. Soothe, as you can tell, it's pretty ridiculous how much we love it. And it is no accident that every single time we go and talk to a major producer or engineer and ask them their top 5 plugins, it always comes up.
For a woman like you.
So just gently controlling some of the build-up.
For a woman like you. Felt this way before, and that didn't turn out well. So now I'm starting anew. I've been lying here all damn night, dreaming up ways to get back to you. What could I do? What could I say? Is there anything left to make you feel the same? I've been baptized by fire.
Oh, I agree. There needs to be some rim shot. There needs to be some verb on the snare. I agree. Hasn't happened yet. I got to be honest, I really like where we're at.
Felt this way before.
And this is just kind of a proof of the pudding of like what we did is we just dissected this song to mix it, knowing there was not a lot we could do. That it was more of a case of like, how can we fix this? So let's go back and do a quick comparison with Daryl's Off the Floor console mix. So here is ours. Oh, you know what? Let's put a little bit of the reverb on the snare as requested and agreed to. I'll make it stereo. Why not? I was thinking, do I want it to be stereo or mono? Because this is one of those situations where a mono verb would be quite nice. It's the first busing, the first anything we're sending anywhere. How crazy is that? So a bit of snare verb. I want to get something really generic, so I'll go to Avid's reverbs. What's their cheapest one they do? The D-verb. We love that. The D-verb will go to a plate, and we'll go about a second and a bit. just heard that. Let's see where we came from. This is what we were trying to be.
Back to you. What could I do? What could I say? Is there?
This is what we got now.
What could I do? What could I say?
Bring the verb down a little bit.
What could I do?
That's live room. The only thing we've done is, Tom, is add the deverb, but everything else is real. There's only one reverb we used. We just put it on the snare only at popular request from everybody, and I agree with.
Felt this way before, and that didn't turn out well.
And before.
Felt this way before.
After.
Felt this way before.
It's night and day better. So we're hearing the definition of the kick, which we decided to boost around about 100 hertz. That, again, was a popular decision. So the kick at the 100 hertz goes to onk. In solo, we're all going, oh, it sounds terrible. It's because it does. It goes on, on, on. But the work that we did on the bass guitar was like, there'd been a lot of people and they tried like using RX and removing stuff and taking out the bleed and everything. And all we did was go in there to the mid-range where all of the piano was bleeding like this, and the guitar and everything, and just compress it. And we multi-band compressed that area, and we found that by removing that, it didn't affect the bass practically at all, and we used the lows on the bass to define the low end, shelved that kick, like I was saying a minute ago, at about 100 hertz, high-passed it away. Oh, don't get me wrong, we love RX, Andre, but it was overthinking it in this instance. The way this worked is by figuring out the low end. That is the lesson from this, is like, get that low end to be right, and then everything else will come together.
Felt this way before, and that didn't turn out.
I love the attack of that kick now.
Felt this way before, and that didn't turn out well. So now I'm starting anew. I've been lying here all damn night, dreaming up ways to get back to you. What could I do? What could I say? Is there anything left to make you feel the same? I've been baptized by fire. I've been going insane. I'm a guitar man with whiskey in hand and drugs in my brain. I've crossed borders and seas, played for princes and thieves, but nothing else matters.
So nothing right about it in solo. So this is where, when I was over with Bob Clear Mountain a couple of years ago, the first time I went over to his studio and I interviewed him and talked to him, he said to me, I never solo. And I remember thinking to myself, he's the only person I believe. I've been in a room with every major mixer in the world and watched them solo. But when you listen to Clear Mountain's mixes, what you hear is something that sounds musical all the time. You don't hear things that sound so detailed and perfect and out of place. You feel like you're in the music. Whereas at his studio a couple of weeks ago, and he was playing the surround mix of the Foo Fighters tribute, the Taylor Hawkins tribute concert. And it's Luke, from the Struts. And Luke is, I don't know if you watched any of that, but Luke singing We Will Rock You is earth-shatteringly good. Luke, you're an amazing singer. Great guy, great singer. Nailing that. And you sit there and he's mixing in an Atmos, and instead of it being all object-based, you just literally sound like you're out. You feel like you're in the middle of Wembley Stadium, hearing everything coming at you. You don't hear that overly pinpointed, detail, that is exciting in some ways, but completely distracting and does not feel like you're in the music. And I think that is the beauty And I do like soloing things, don't get me wrong. It's so much easier when we're teaching to solo things and show you what we're doing. But the beauty of the decision that we made was made outside of soloing and allowed us to get the bass, the stand-up bass and the kick relationship much better than if we had tried to do it in solo. That's the lesson, I think, today for this video. Thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring this. It means a lot. It means that we'll be able to do these regularly because I know this means a lot to everybody here. By the way, please hit the like button because every week now we'll be able to do live streams and mix songs and each of them will have different problems. So what I think we should rename this video, Eric and Lee, whoever's watching, this should be like getting the low end right on live instruments. You know, that's what this should be because that's the lesson from this. Yeah, so thank you, DistroKid. The reason why, again, we recommend DistroKid to our Academy members is because if you're a producer, an engineer, or a mixer, and you're working with an artist and you have a deal in place, especially if you've done the record cheap, which is a lot of us do, I still do, you do it at a discounted rate, and you're working on the idea of there being back end, the big reason why we recommend DistroKid is because you put it up there and you assign the back end immediately. So it means $1 comes in profit and it's 50-50 deal. If that's what you strike up, 50 cents goes to you, 50% goes to the artist. You don't have to chase them. You can just do it. It's really, really wonderful. That's a highly recommend. Please hit, getting the low end right on live instruments, Multitracks, Warren here. Thank you very much, Eric. So please hit that like button, everybody. Next Monday, there will be another one. We'll be doing another live stream sponsored by our friends at DistroKid. Thank you, DistroKid. Please hit that link, support them because they're supporting us and it's a mutual yay. So they get 30% off their plans. Go and do that. Yeah, like Paul says, the biggest advert for DistroKid is everyone recommends them. Yeah, it's really good. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring this. Don't forget, download the Multitracks. Have a go at this. This has been absolutely wonderful. It's great to be able to like look at a song like this and use really strategically a few amount of plugins. That's my mic down there. We've got on the vocal, we have a trim that we don't actually need because we used it to turn up the vocal. We've got one EQ on the vocal, one EQ on the piano. Our good friends Mac DSP on the bass here. Which really was the miracle worker on the bass. Absolutely fantastic plugin. Probably my favorite multiband compressor. Yeah. The MC404. Take it, breathe that in. That is a fantastic plugin. As you saw how much it saved our ass. Great plugin. Thank you, Colin, for being smart. We don't need the EQ. We did use Civ 2. Again, there's a reason why every single time we ask somebody their top 5 plugins, why it's in pretty much everybody's top 5. It is a quality plugin. I know it's not the cheapest one out there, but I don't know. Then, of course, a stock deverb. You could use any reverb you want. Any reverb will do it. Then as a pad frequency is just to hear the kick drum. That was to show everybody. Don't need it. And then a kick drum, there is a horrendously crazy looking EQ to boost the areas that we wanted. Soothe 2 to control the low end so it's consistent in that 100 area. And then a cut at 350 just to remove some of the low mids that was getting in the way of the piano and particularly the bass. And that is it. And then a nice even kind of 100-ish lump there. And I always EQ after. I might EQ into compression and then EQ afterwards. And the reason why I EQ into compression is I can boost into it. It then evens everything out. And now that the low end is more even, I can then boost it evenly. Does that make sense? Boost, compress, boost again. Sorry, it's not all subjective. You like that? Subtractive. It is subjective EQ, not subtractive. Next time somebody says to you, I went to college and they told me use subtractive EQ only. You go, yeah, I always use subjective EQ as well. Like that? Ching. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring this. Please go and check out their plans. And once again, the reason why we like them is they are built and designed for guys and girls like us that do this for a living, working with tons of independent artists. Yes, I've made the Frey and James Blunt and Aerosmith records. Open back headphones. Love them. I've made all those great records. But my bread and butter that pays the bills and has paid the bills for the last 20 years of doing this, 25 years of doing this, is working with independent artists and doing great work with them. And that's, you know, for every major label record you do, you're going to be doing 20 of those. And if the thing about DistroKid that works is you get in there and you, with the artist, you agree the percentages, and when the release comes out, your name is on there, you get paid from the initial release. You don't have to worry about chasing the artist to get paid. It is what comes up all the time with guys and girls in our position. And don't get me wrong, there are massive producers, engineers, and mixers that are only working on independent records these days. So get with it. Check them out. It's wonderful. Thank you, everyone. This has been a lot of fun. So long. Farewell. See you next Monday for another song, another mix. Thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring Your Rock. Goodbye.